Hi. Managing impatience is something that becomes very important once you leave the zone of playing songs and having fun to really building your skills. And what does that mean? Basically, building your skills versus something I talk about in other videos. But it basically means that you go from having fun playing songs and a little bit of a transcribed solo and going into that zone of really building your skills, mastering music theory, mastering alternate picking, hammer-ons and pull-offs, whatever it is that you want, or mastering songwriting. Going into those basic skills instead of building a chair from a recipe or a drawing. You build a chair from the bottom up because you have the skills of being able to do that. Instead of baking a cake from a recipe, you simply just create your own cake. And that's the two zones I'm talking about here. And when you move from that zone of just playing, or not just, because that's as valuable as whatever, I just think it's more fun to be over here. But once you move from that zone of playing songs and playing other people's solos and really building skills, it's really because, playing a song gives you a fast result. If you want to play, you play kind of whatever. After a week or two or a day or whatever, what skill level you are on, you learn to play something that sounds like music. When you try to build a skill like alternate picking, this is what you can do after a month, right? So when you're trying to impress your friends, they're not really impressed, and it doesn't really sound like music. So you don't have that boost of being able to do something rapidly that sounds like an orchestra or you being a real musician. So where's your motivation going to come from? And what do you do with your impatience? Because instead of it taking a week for you to have a result, it takes forever, or so it seems. But it doesn't take forever if you build your path in the right way. And this is the point in this video, because what I struggle with all the time where I was really building the majority of my skills was that I was taking in too much at one time because I was hungry to learn it all. So I practiced it all the time. And it was so clear to me after, pretty rapidly that was really inefficient, but I still did it because I was impatient. And it's the weirdest thing is that impatience leads you to do stuff that leads you away from the result you want, because that's how human beings are made. But we have to really look at our own behaviors and then upgrade ourselves so we do stuff that actually works. So what actually works? Well, instead of taking on a ton of stuff and practicing for hours each day, instead of doing that, which is the most straightforward way of learning a lot of stuff, right? You take just a little bit of stuff and then you practice that for tons of hours each day. Not necessarily, but you really focus on a small part as we talked about in the previous video, which you might want to take a look at. Because what that does is it actually gives you fast results. So you get that boost of being able to do something that you couldn't do 2 weeks ago or 1 month ago or 4 weeks ago. And that's really the secret to lasting motivation and to really enjoying the process of becoming a well-rounded musician or guitarist. Because that's the only way. You have to practice these skills. You have to really look at it as a craft, and then you can go from being a good craftsman, being able to play the chords, do the alternate picking, to be a virtuoso where you master it at the level where you can't really become any better at doing this up and down movement or whatever it is that you're trying to learn. You've maxed out when it comes to your physical ability, really, how fast the brain and the muscles can move. But the way to get to that point is to really make sure that you put challenges down in front of you that you can learn to master pretty quickly. And you set goals for yourself that you can learn to master pretty quickly. That's the only way to getting a result quickly. And most people might say, but I'm not in it for the results. I'm just jamming. I'm just practicing. I find it enjoyable to sit with my instrument and have fun. But if you're practicing skills, that way of thinking is going to evaporate pretty quickly, because at some point, if you want to learn alternate picking, you have to be able to do this for hours in front of the TV or talking to friends or whatever it is. You have to really build millions of repetitions here. And that's not hard. It's not, it doesn't hurt anywhere. It's just a lifestyle of getting really well acquainted with your instrument too. And then I'm not exaggerating, because that's really what you're doing. You're just holding it all the time, practicing simple loopable picking patterns all the time, whenever you have the chance to do it. And in order to get results, so you can really go, yes, I did that, and that was amazing. Let me do some more. I feel, enthusiastic about taking on a new challenge. In order to really keep that flow going, you have to have small, manageable results that you can achieve pretty quickly. Because then it's like jumping from lily pad to lily pad. There's a result. Way, and you jump again, and there's another result. But if there's too far, if you have to swim to the next lily pad because it's months away, because you're playing huge exercises or huge runs, or you're just practicing too many things at one time, then you'll be tired before you get the result. So you don't get that extra power up, so you can keep going. You know, that video game, driving a car, and you have to get those, power ups, in order to be able to go around and round one more time. And if you can't make it, if you don't get those power ups, your race is over, basically. Weird little computer game analogy there, but that's basically how it works. And that's why most people they just run out of juice. They just can't go on because they take on too much and then they give up. So that's a really, really important thing. And again, it puts a very hard line under that principle of selecting small loopable exercises, because that's the only way to get results fast. And that's another little thing that I want you to do, is measure where you are and where you go. So, because that's another thing in the brain that we develop so slowly, even though it's pretty rapid. Let's say you go from being able to do this, the 1st of January, and then 4 weeks after you can do this. And it feels exactly as easy as when you did. But because you have 30 days in between of just gradually going there, just one bit by one bit, then you get used to the results every single day. Because those are so small, so you don't go, you just go, I've just been playing this forever. So you never feel the result. It's like seeing your, grandchildren grow up, and next time you see them, 6 months after, they're huge children. But you didn't realize that when you were a parent, because you're looking at them every single day, and that's the same principle. If you really want to have that win, that surge of motivational power inside you, and that enthusiasm to go for the next thing, you have to measure where you are, and the only way to do that is using a metronome. Or you can use the only way, and then I tell you a second way, or you can use your iPhone or your whatever phone you have, and just shoot yourself. Shoot yourself playing, or record yourself playing. You don't want to shoot yourself, but and so you can listen, so you can experience the difference, and that's really, really important. So the two principles here are the same. The first one, anyway, as in the previous video: select something very manageable so you get results fast. And the second principle is measuring your progress by not measuring it every day. Just put a stake in the ground when you start an exercise, and then don't look into it. Don't measure until you are 4 weeks away, so you can really get that, whoa, I really grew here. Because that will motivate you to go on for more. And you might say, I don't need motivation because I'm totally motivated. Yes, you are now, but the next time you've been pounding away at something that was too big, you'll feel less motivated to go for more, because you didn't really. And what happens in the brain is the worst of all. What happens is you use a ton of resources. You use a ton of energy. You eat food, and instead of building your organs and using that energy to do great stuff, useful stuff like making money or doing other things that really make sense to the brain and its survival mechanism, instead you're using tons of resources to do absolutely nothing. You're practicing away and nothing happens. And so when you give up, when you've been practicing for 2 months and you took on too much and you didn't measure your progress, so it didn't really look as though you did anything, then all that happens is that your brain is going to say, let's not do that again, because that was totally idiotic. We will never use that kind of resources, achieving absolutely nothing again, because you didn't measure and you took on too much instead of focusing on small loopable exercises, right? And that's what happens over and over and over again to people, but it doesn't happen to you anymore. It doesn't have to anyway. So choose these little exercises and use a metronome to measure yourself, or just record yourself so you can really see the difference. And a good idea is to don't measure all the time. Let there be a certain amount of space in between so you really see the growth you had, and that will absolutely motivate you to go for more. And you'll stay out of impatience. You'll stay out of the trap of, oh, come on, I want to go somewhere else than I am now. Instead of having that feeling in your body, you'll really have that feeling of, I am going somewhere else than I am now. I'm really developing, right? So happy practicing.